Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? Today was an interesting day, was it not? I thought it was interesting. What did I find to be interesting about this day? We took a dive. Shocker there. Google did what I thought it was going to do. Google is, let me rephrase that. That's true. Google is doing what I thought it would do. And some people might not understand what I'm talking about, but Google is actually kicking tail and not caring about it. Reported great numbers, coming out with new tech, completely stomping on other companies. But we can get into that in a minute. What country has tokenized about $280 million in polished diamonds? France, Singapore, Brazil, or other? You know what to do if it's other. Drop it in the comment. So let's get back to the real deal here. So Google comes out. Google's got great numbers. I knew Google would have great numbers because Google operates a money tree. That's what they do. They operate a freaking money tree. If you think they don't, do your own research. Know your entries and exits and absolutely invest deliberately. Because they are absolutely operating a money tree. And they harvest every quarter. What Google is doing is sticking it to the competition. What do I mean by that? So right now you're dealing with companies that have as their only source of income AI platforms. Think Anthropic, think OpenAI, think other platforms. Google, on the other hand, that would just be one of. So they've got about zero worries. Zero. My man, Rick Ritchie in his house. How are you? Tell your mom I said hello, please. So the market is down, but why do I feel so bubbly inside? Am I expecting the market to go down again? Yes, I am. Sadly enough, I absolutely am. However, do I think the market is going to come back and come back really strong? The answer to that would be yes as well. Why do I get that feeling? So I'm sitting at my desk today. I'm on a conference call where I do not have to present. So camera is off and I am muted. My son calls me. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care where I'm at. My kids call me, I answer. I will say, excuse me, but this call is far more important than you. It's my kid. Boom. Hey, I'm really busy. Are you good? Can I call you back in X amount of time? Not today, though. Not today. Today, I was like, I don't even have to listen to this conference call because I'm probably not going to have to correct anybody. I'm probably not going to have to say anything. And I hear what's going on. You know what? Let me enjoy this conversation with my kid. I left the conference going on. It's via Teams anyway. So I hop on the call. And my son, the one that owns the cookie stores, says, Dad, things are looking up. What's going on? Things are looking up, Dad. We had enough money to pay for this for like a year, in advance. We had enough money to pay for this for like 2 years in advance. We did this, we did that. We're about to do this and blah, 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 blah. And he's just running through everything that his company is doing. And it was like, listening to myself when I was his age. Only better. Because it was my son and not me. So I'm listening and I'm just happy. I took that happiness and I did my afternoon research. And I was like, different lens. My son and his happiness gave me a different lens to look at the news, to look at what's going on. And through that lens, I said, whoa, there's some good stuff going on. You just have to look. You have to be open to it. So I'm just looking. My son's happiness forced me to look through a different lens, unbeknownst to me. I was just in a better mood. I was in a different place. I was looking at things. I was like, wow, base went down a few days ago. And I was like, wow, base went down. That's not good. That's a no bueno situation. Normally I'd be like, oh my God. But I wasn't. What was I? It went down. I'm not really messing around with anything on base, so I don't know that I give a damn. However, I question the importance of Ethereum L2s. Ethereum's Layer 2 L2 development faced setbacks in 2020 and 2021 as network prices fell and roll-up decentralization lagged. Vitalik Buterin redefined L2s as a spectrum rather than branded shards of Ethereum. As of latest data, 91.5% of L2 value resides in stage 1 rollups, with only 8.5% in stage 0 and less than 0.01% in stage 2. Declining Ethereum base layer costs and increased gas limits since 2025 shifted priorities, forcing a re-evaluation of L2 goals. The new framework emphasizes specialized cases beyond cheap EVM and proposes native rollup precompiles for interoperability. What does that mean? It means that the efficiency that we were expecting from the upgrades, the cost efficiency that we were expecting from the upgrades are shining through. There's still more to go, but we're at a point right now where you actually ask yourself, what's the point of a layer 2? If Ethereum is doing what it's doing now, what's the point of an L2? That one. So when I was reading about Base's failure a couple of days ago, I was like, oh, okay. Because Base is not a coin. It's a blockchain. It's a layer 2 blockchain built based on Ethereum. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. Because I don't think about it like that. So I just started thinking about what that would mean for Ethereum and what that would mean for traffic on Ethereum. We've already seen Ethereum's development on Ethereum pick up. We've already started seeing that. So, whoa. Yo, Hutanik, thanks for letting us know you invested in yourself, man. And so I sat there and I was like, that's interesting. Hutanik, I'm going to delete that because I told you about using numbers, right? Say you invested in something. Don't say how much you invested. We're going to take a break right now and we're going to talk about security, your security. Around the world, I've been reading about how people are being kidnapped, threatened, hurt, otherwise put in jeopardy because they ran around talking about what they have. So one of my favorite rappers is the late DMX, and one of his line as basically, if you talk about what you have, that'll get you hit. Don't talk about what you have. Don't do that. Don't run around talking about, I bought 100 of this, 10 of that, 50 of that, million of this. Don't do that. You're literally telling people, come rob me, please. Don't do that. We don't care about how much you have. We care about your thought process. Tell us what your thought process was that said, I invested in this instead. Why did I invest in that instead? Oh, because ba 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 ba. We don't want to hear about how much. Be careful. Be careful. Nobody is above being placed in jeopardy. Except maybe my brother. I have a couple of brothers that, woo. Yeah, those guys you ain't messing with. So, back to the story. The idea is that Ethereum has been picking up in major fashion in terms of development. So when I look at development picking up on Ethereum, that ought to be a wake-up call to other platforms. It really should be. One of my guys is up, and apparently he wants a beating. I just told everyone you want a beating. That's right. So I started thinking about, like I said, my son put me in a good mood, so I started thinking about things in a different light. And I had to pause for a second and look at Ethereum. For a long time, Ethereum wasn't doing what it's doing now. And I was like, whoa. But they've been on a trajectory, a builder trajectory for a minute. And I was like, why am I not paying attention to that? Why am I not paying attention to that? That's insane. So I started saying, okay, I see you. I see you. Ethereum was meant to be a platform that can be improved upon. It's meant to be a platform that can deliver. If you can improve upon a platform that is capable of delivering, what do you have? The next best thing next to Bitcoin, which is why it's number 2. Can other blockchains surpass Ethereum? Yes. Yes. Is it possible that Ethereum doesn't get surpassed? Because what does Ethereum bring to the table? Must bring a lot, because frickin' Fidelity launched their new FIDD stablecoin on Ethereum. Just saying. Just saying. So at some point, you have to start realizing, whoa, holy moly. We have to start rethinking how we look at Ethereum, rethinking how we look at L2s. And truth be told, it's not just Ethereum and its L2s. It's every blockchain out there that's meant to be built upon. Not a bad look. So then what else did I start doing? I started thinking about the infrastructure, because remember, I always look at infrastructure first. What are the rails that are being built? What's the foundation that's being built? And I was like, wow, there's some good stuff right here. Some amazingly good stuff. So I said, okay, we have to look at that. So even though the light back there is red, No, it's real. It's real. This is me touching it. Not just some, green screen or something like that. It's red because the market is red. I mean, it picked up a little bit, tiny little bit. Hey, A-Pause, thanks for letting us know you invested in yourself today. 305 grand. 305 grant. Have you invested in yourself today? That's the number one question. But you still have to start thinking about, so what's left to be built? Everything. Everything. AI proved to us this week, over the past couple of weeks, that something that needs to be built out is more security, privacy, user sovereignty, data sovereignty. All of those things need to be built out. Because the one thing that's going on right now is that we need to understand that our data is our data. Not your data, our data. You know what I mean? Your data is yours, and that's the way it should be kept. That's the way it should be handled. Excuse me. So you start to realize, wow, there's a lot more that can be done. There's a lot more that will be done. There's a lot more that's being done right now. We just probably aren't noticing. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. These are the things that we must do if we plan on surviving in the coming time. Just saying. That's why I have H-bar, because of what you're saying. H-bar. Woof. Have you seen the news about H-bar? Have you seen the news about H-bar? It has become a builder's platform. It's become a builder's platform. I told you that last night. That's what's amazing. Coins that, blockchains that I hadn't thought of, or that I had written off a little bit, or were sitting in the back of my mind because I have a nice bag of H-bar. I'm not even going to play. I started realizing, wow, I think I bought the right stuff. I think I bought the right stuff. Because when I think about it, I can easily see how H-bar could take out a bunch of coins. I think one of the issues I have with Cardano is that Cardano's not doing enough I have no idea what you're talking about. You hate for what? Have you invested in yourself today? You're watching on your TV, but someone talking about 50 mil. I wasn't talking about 50 mil. Your name is Jesse James. Okay, you're funny. I definitely did invest in myself once a week, bruh. What do you mean once a week? What do you mean once a week? No, every day. Every day. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. I prefer at least a minimum of 15. You doom scroll on your phone for greater than 50 minutes. I'm expecting 15 minutes. I'm expecting you to hop on for 15 minutes and do your own research. Know your entries and exits and absolutely invest deliberately. Your first investment is in yourself. So once a week, woo, be happy you're not one of my kids. I'd have to whoop that ass. You invest in yourself every day. You are that important. That's what I tell my kids. You are that important. Invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to miss out on something else because you're investing in yourself. Because in the long run, that's the only thing that's going to pay off. Yourself. Just saying. Just putting that out there for you. Rick Richard, you can absolutely go stand in a freaking corner. You can absolutely go stand in a freaking corner. Oh my Lord, you're in trouble. Every day, work out and read. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Investing in yourself isn't just a mental, actually it's mostly mental, but it can be physical, which is still mental. You're making a conscious decision that I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to take care of my mind. Investing in yourself either way. That's what's up. That's a very big deal. So many people get that wrong. So many people get that wrong. It's such a simple concept. I've been looking over time and just thinking to myself, how many people are not investing in themselves? How many people are sitting around not doing enough for themselves? At some point, you've got to stop and realize, wow, I better step up the game. I better start investing in me. I don't care if you're 9 or 90. Do you? Do you? When I was a kid, my mother used to tell me, boy, when you grow up and you have kids, you get married and you have kids, by the time you're done taking care of you and yours, you will not have time to take care of me. I taught you, I'll be fine. To this day, my mother still teaches me stuff, mostly that I've got to protect my clothes, especially my sweaters. She loves my sweaters and shirts. One day you're going to catch me doing a show up in here and I'm only going to have on my undershirt because my mother done stole my clothes. Just saying. I just won't go. I'll put the screen on something else. I wouldn't want to subject you to that. But yeah, my mother's taught me over the years that I've got to take care of myself. And when I look back at all of my mentors, they were all teaching me the same thing in different ways, but they were all teaching me the same thing. I got to take care of myself. I actually thought about that when I was listening to my son. And I was like, wow, that's a beautiful lesson to remember. So I kept looking at the news. And something that I saw today that was a carry on from yesterday is that Trump came out and said that we have a deal with India. India is not going to buy any more Russian oil. They're going to get stuff from us, right? And I sat there and I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's cute. Russia came out today and said, yeah, that's not what they said. That is not what they said. And I sat there and I was like, so now Russia is speaking on behalf of India. That's not what they said. I was like, oh. Those bonds run deep, don't they? Those BRICS bonds, they run deep. And India really hasn't been all that trustworthy. And frankly, the current regime hasn't been trustworthy either. So I think about this and probably people are like, you're talking politics. No, I'm not. I'm talking about a situation that affects our economy. Aha. Because if they keep making money from the rest of the world, but they're getting the oil from over there, they're not putting back into the pool, right? That's what I mean. Scary. So I started thinking a little bit deeper. When I was looking at pieces of news, I just started thinking a little bit deeper about what's going on with Bitcoin. And then I read one of the funniest things. Scott Bessent came out and said, we're not going to bail out Bitcoin. Sir, how would you? How would you bail out Bitcoin? If I was standing in front of him, that's all I would ask is if you could, how would you bail out Bitcoin, sir? What does that even mean? That you would bail out? You're not going to bail out Bitcoin? What does that mean? What do you think you would have to do to bail out Bitcoin? Who have you bailed out? Besides the rich and the wealthy and all these corporations, what or who have you bailed out? You've only bailed out that class of people, that class of companies. You've only bailed them out. Your soybean farmers, did you help them out? No. Your beef farmers, did you help them out? No. Are prices going up on beef? Yes. Did you give away our soybean business to another country? Yes. Did you give that other country tens of billions of dollars? Yes. Have you given our farmers anything but pain and sorrow? That one. That one. So many people get stuck on looking at stocks, bonds, options, crypto, that they don't look at the economic infrastructure that can affect them. Food prices go up. Right now it's beef. Beef has skyrocketed. I told you guys months ago that I watched an interview with Bobby Flay. And I can't stand Bobby Flay. His TV persona just irks me. But he was very real during this interview. And he said, what's up with the high prices in restaurants? It's ridiculous. And he said, I can understand where you're coming from. Because you've never run a restaurant. You don't know what that means. It takes a lot. It costs a lot. And you don't stop to think that food costs a lot of money. You go to the store, you buy some steaks. We would probably look at those steaks and not for us. Prices have gone up. Prices have gone up. And he says, don't think that the prices are going to come down either. Interviewer was like, I forgot who it was, but I remember their face like just changed. And I was like, oh. And I sat there and I said, that's really interesting. So food prices go up. Housing goes up. There's not enough housing. The new regime was out the other day talking about, oh, I don't want housing prices to go down. I don't want house prices to go down. I want house prices to go up. Interesting. You want housing prices to go up. And we're short on housing. Huh. But that's what you're aiming for. Good job, buddy. Good job. So we're in a state right now where stock market's taking a dive. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Day after that is Friday. No, I'm not trying to be funny. Friday is usually a sell-off day. That's why I'm saying it out loud. And so am I expecting prices to go up? Am I expecting the stock market to recover this week? No. I'm not. I was talking to my brother day before yesterday. No, yesterday. Speaking with him yesterday, and we were both talking about, because he was driving, so we were just chatting, right? Because we're using an app, so I can type and he can talk and say it to his app, and it'll type it out and send it to me. We're doing that kind of thing. So he wasn't driving and texting. And he goes, "Listen, Bitcoin's at a high point of a lower level." I looked at my charts and I was kind of like, yeah, it kind of is at a higher point at a lower level. So now you have to say, well, what's the floor of that level? It's about 63,000. It's about 63,000. Do I think we could hit 63,000? Yeah. There's somebody out there talking about how Bitcoin could hit 40. Do you know how many people that would absolutely crush? You know what I think would happen after that? All the institutions and all the wealthy would swoop in and buy it up. Just like that. Do I think we're being hit by manipulation right now? Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Absolutely, no doubt. Right? I've been looking at the news and when things hit. And I'm going to you guys, and I hope you don't get upset. Don't get upset. Look at this. Look at that. This is the 200. The orange is the 200-day moving average. Look at that. Yeah. One, 2, 3, 4. You could probably draw a line right there. Bam. That's a steep line. Is it going to continue like that? I don't think so. But it could. We could easily hit 69 right there. Easily. What's the lowest point, the high point from that 69? 63 and change. 63 and change. Look how many bands. Look how far down we are in bands. I mean, let me scroll that up for you so you can see. This is around the high. Because the reason why I have that, this wasn't the high, but it was around the high, and that's where we hovered for a little while. That's why I selected that one. And you come down and you're like, wow. We were doing fine. What happened here? Yep, that's what he was talking about. And then we were recovering a little bit. And then what he talked about, he spoke about it again. And you could just draw, you could basically just draw a straight line right there. Just bam. Yep. A regime that's going to sue his own country for $10 billion. So the people that have to go up against him work for him. Do you think that's going to happen? That $10 billion check? Yeah. We're not at this point. Let me bring it back for you guys. We're not at this point because, fundamentals aren't there. We're not at this point for anything else other than manipulation. Manipulation. That's what it is. In BTC history, we never went lower than the 4-year presidential election. What number is that? And I don't go by history. I go by what's being manipulated right now, because where we are now is not where we should be. I want you to stop and think about that. Where we are now is not where we should be. Care to think about where we would be if all this talk about tariffs didn't happen? I really want you to stop and think about that. Go back, April of last year? Go back to April of last year. It's around about that time that's the first time you heard about tariffs. Absolutely stymied, crushed the upward momentum that we were building for Bitcoin. 125, 126. Wow. And then why were you talking about tariffs? Why? And then here's the kicker. Look back across that time. All the countries that he said, tariff. Where did we get a deal? So right now, it wasn't just a matter of the U.S. economy. It's a matter of the global economy. Where are we now? Are we in a good place? I don't think so. I really don't think so. We're back basically to where we were a year ago. We've erased almost everything. AMD hasn't. AMD took a hit, 17 points down, 17% down, but they're still up year over year. You're personally looking at 65. The November low was 66,824. Interesting. What are my numbers? My numbers were from the low was 63,719 to 69,355. Those were the two numbers I had. That was the floor. 63,719. So 66. Interesting. That's about midway in that band. Yeah, no, I can still see 63. Because it's not exact, right? And history, I'm not worried about history in this case. Because history is not what's driving us. History is not what's driving us right now. Right? Some people might think it's history that's driving us right now, or it's similar. Not driving us, but it's similar. You have nothing compared. You have absolutely nothing to compare to. Historically, you didn't have a president that was just causing economic trouble for the sake of causing economic trouble. And every time he caused that economic trouble, certain people made money and others did not. That's different. Like I said, if you remove the word tariff and you went about doing things diplomatically, you'd have gotten the same results because there are no deals. Well, sorry, there are only two deals. Two. Even if you said there are 10, we've got to deal with the whole world. But there aren't 10. There aren't even 5. Who do you get deals with? So when I look at the news, I've got to look at macro events where they are as I'm looking at the news. That's tough to deal with. It's absolutely tough to deal with. Ooh. Tom Tillis has blocked the nomination of Kevin Warsh as the Federal Reserve Chair until the Department of Justice completes its investigation into current Fed Chair Jerome Powell. They truly want that to go away. They want that to go away. But that's not the only reason why they're holding up Mr. Warsh. Go do your own research is what I would say. I see the closer we get to Q4, the closer we have global problems. Good news is we are not forming a one world government. That's a political statement. That's dumb. When I think about what you said, Rick Ritchie, about the 4 years, true. But like I said, if this was a regular president, I would be thinking like you, but we're not dealing with a regular president. The word tariff has been thrown around as a red herring. It's not meant for anything else. In all this time, you've gotten 2 deals, but you keep throwing around the word tariff. That's why Asian countries don't care about the word tariff. They don't. They don't even react to it anymore. The rest of the world does. You want to know why? Because they're all thinking the same thing. He's unreliable. That was the one thing that you could say about the United States that you cannot say anymore. We're not reliable. How can we be considered reliable when we're putting boots on the ground in Nigeria? We're using huge bombs to blow up boats in the Caribbean, to take out, a ruler, president, whatever you want to call him, of another country that happens to be near us, and get nothing from it. So why'd you do it? Unreliable. You're volatile. That's not what the world wants from the United States. That's not what the world wants from what's supposed to be the reserve currency. And now we're poking the bear in Iran. I'm not saying that it's a bear that we can't whoop the snot out of. I'm just saying, but we're poking a bear. For what reason? We can get what we want without going through all these trials and tribulations. Unnecessary trials and tribulations. So when I look at the news, I'm looking at all of these macro events, and then I'm looking at regular news. And I've got economists saying, listen, all these macro events, you're looking at that news, but it's the macro events that are driving everything right now. We have good news, and that good news is having zero effect. Because the macro events are way bigger. A few years ago, our largest macro event, Russia, Ukraine. Tell me I'm wrong. Before that, it was the pandemic. And we got through that however we got through it. And then Russia, Ukraine crashed the markets. Remember that? We fought all the way back. Didn't we drop to the teens from $69,000? And where are we now? 72 and change? Not that far off. The only difference now is that you have so many companies that are building infrastructure around crypto. Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they can move value far faster using crypto. But that's not the only reason. I can leverage blockchain to ease the stress on my own technology stack. Blockchain tech offers financial institutions an upgrade to their systems that could wind up being a lot easier to work with. These companies don't want to tell you how old their systems are. They're ancient. Some of these systems are half a century old. If you think I'm playing, yeah, I'm not. I absolutely am not. What do you think will happen? Hold it. Federal Reserve Chairman further reduces interest rates. Kevin Warsh is a hawk. I don't know that I'm worried about what he would want to do to interest rates. I'm more concerned about whether or not he would be independent. Trump actually came out and said that he wouldn't have considered Warsh if he had said that he doesn't plan or he doesn't think that he would want to lower interest rates, which means that he was the pick because Trump thinks he will lower interest rates. I have to tell you, I think he's going to be in for another rude awakening. That's a job that once you get the job, I'm in it to win it, babe. I'm in it to win it. Nothing you could do. You have to catch me doing something illegal. That's a problem. So do I think that he's going to lower interest rates? He could. He could. But it's not him. Remember, there's a vote that happens. And I don't know that Powell's going to leave. I do not know that Powell's going to leave. You threatened the man. Why'd you threaten the man? That makes no sense. That was a dumb pet trick. You threatened Powell? You want to have him investigated? What sense does that make? A dumb pet trick. That was dumb as hell that you want to investigate Powell, Jerome Powell. For what cause? You want to investigate everybody that stands against you, everybody that stands in your way. It's more important now than ever before that we have a Fed that is absolutely independent. Why? I think the world would have an issue if we continue to if we were to have somebody who's bankrupted that many businesses be in control of our economy. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So that's where I stand with that. Could he come in and lower rates? Let's play the idea that he comes in and he lowers rates. What does that mean? What kind of impact would that have? Would it go against the numbers? I think it would wind up going against the numbers. I think this year and going forward, we're going to be in for a lot of layoffs. I think this year going forward, from this point going forward, we're going to have to deal with a lot of things that are going to affect inflation. I don't know. I don't know that he will. Yeah, he's on record saying that he would have, but he didn't have the job. He was going for the job. Things can be drastically different once you're in those shoes. When you run for the office of the presidency, you don't know what it means to be president. The only people that knows what it means to be president are the people that have been president. What you're saying is, I can grow into those shoes. So Kevin Warsh, he's been a Fed governor. I think he was just interviewing for the job. I could be wrong, but I really get that feeling that he was just interviewing for the job. Let's not forget that Powell was put in his job by Trump. And what did he wind up doing? What he felt was right. Not what you wanted him to do, but what he felt was right. And remember, he's just another vote. He just happens to be chair. They vote on moving those rates or not. That's a vote. Just saying. So we'll have to wait and see what he's got to say, what he actually does. I don't think Powell fades away like Gary Gensler, because Gary Gensler hasn't faded away. Go look up Gary Gensler. He hasn't faded away. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's done a few fairly recently. Like in January, he did a couple of interviews. He's coming back. Gensler is not a dumb guy. He's a really smart guy. People want to work with him. His hang-up was with crypto, and I don't know that his hang-up was with crypto. I think his hang-up was with people, specific people. So does Powell go away? Powell's a smart dude. He can go make money anywhere. So, different kind of story. Different kind of story. But the position of Fed chair is not a loud position. It's not like the position of Treasury Secretary. Completely different. Treasury Secretary is all the way out, all out there. They're supposed to be. This is a much more subdued kind of position. It's a steadfast kind of position. So I hear you, and I don't necessarily disagree. I'm just saying it's a more of a steadfast position. And Gary Gensler's smart. It's like, hey, when you come out of office, keep your head down for a little while, be quiet, do what you're going to do, make a couple of bucks. And, year and a half, maybe 2 years, you come out and now you can go make some money. It's not like he's broke either. Just saying. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think Kevin Warsh knows the job. He was a governor. He knows the job. You've heard his name out there only for the position, but other than that, you really haven't heard his name out there. We'll see. Gary went from teaching blockchain, at MIT. Look up his brother. He had a name. He has reach. Even back then, he had reach. He could get things done. Gary Gensler didn't come out of nowhere. I'm telling you, it's a little bit more research that needs to be done there. A little bit more research. Gary is very much connected. Very, very connected. And like I said, he's not stupid. Powell's not stupid. Frankly, I'm not worried about Powell. I kind of know what he's going to do going forward. He's not moving anything. Nothing will move until Powell leaves that role. The only question I have is, will he stay on to finish out his term? Which I think is a high probability. And whoever gets the job, will they get the job, see all the facts? Like right now. Did you see the job numbers? Oh, because they were late. That's right. Mm. Why? Oh, government shutdown. That's right. Just saying. So there are a lot. So you didn't have the numbers from 2 months, October, November, and now the numbers late again. You've got, these are things that we have to pay attention to. What numbers can we trust? So I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm definitely not saying you're wrong. I'm just offering a different perspective. That's all. It's a different perspective. Ripple Prime, Ripple's institutional prime brokerage platform, has integrated with Hyperliquid, an on-chain derivatives exchange. This partnership allows institutions to trade on Hyperliquid without direct interaction with blockchain wallets or smart contracts. That was a big deal for Hyperliquid. Not that much of a big deal for XRP, XRPL, the ledger itself. Just adding rails, adding infrastructure. That's what makes that important. That's what makes that important. Tonight's question: what country has tokenized $280 million in diamonds? France, Singapore, Brazil, or other? For all of you that said the United Arab Emirates, you are correct. You are correct. Now you can understand why I'm saying tokenization is picking up. It's picking up big time. Big time. Now you know why I'm looking at infrastructure. Now you know why I'm not worried. It's amazing as I sit here speaking with you guys and gals. I sit here and I'm kind of like, wow. Looking at things slightly differently, like I said, because of my son, different lens. Because as a small business owner, he's feeling good. And he's not selling something that's a necessity for people. He's selling freaking cookies. I mean, I hate even saying what my son sells because those cookies are so damn good. Oh my God. So I don't like talking about his cookies. But that's not a necessity. That's not what you're going to eat when you go to your construction site. You're not chewing on a cookie. And these cookies are huge, man. These cookies are huge. These cookies are slightly smaller than the palm of my hand. Just as thick. Yeah. I saw my friend Lisa the other day, and I hadn't seen her in years. We went to high school together, and she was going to a sorority party. Not a sorority party, but a sorority thing near my house. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go see Lisa real quick, see her for a couple of seconds. And so I brought her up to the store because, and so that means Lisa and I go back a long time. So I bring her over to my son's store so she could see my son's store. And she was just like, oh, my God. Yeah. She called me up. She was like, man, next time I see you, I'm going to try my damnedest to beat the crap out of you. She was like, I took a bite. And I must have gained like 10 pounds. But seriously, though, my son's a small business owner. Him and his partner, they're small business owners. His boy George, right? Cool dudes. And they sell cookies. They're not selling milk, butter, bread. They're not selling necessities. They're selling cookies. And they're feeling good. They don't have a problem making sacrifices up front. It's a mindset. Because I've been teaching my son since he was a little guy. You lay your groundwork and make sure your groundwork is solid. Then you can build. And you can build anything. But your groundwork has got to be solid. Called me up to say, Dad, they knocked out so many bills. And I was just like, wow. Wow. But we have a little bit more news that I want to get to, and I'm just going to rifle through some of it. The CME Group is weighing the idea of its own stablecoin. That's big. We already know that Bitcoin plummeted about 8% in 24 hours. We know that already. We already know that we're possibly looking at 65, 63, around that range. Somebody else is calling for like 40, and I'm like, that's a little drastic, buddy. It's a little drastic. And I don't think it would go that low. I think there are too many things bubbling it up, right? Because we have to bust through a lot of other things to get there. And I have to say that, I hate to be morbid, but I think that there could be changes that if those changes were to happen, you're not going to have the level of manipulation that you're having now. I'll say it like that. UBS. Swiss bank UBS Group AG announced a client-led strategy to integrate digital assets and tokenized services during its Q4 earnings report. Wow. I consulted at UBS. So UBS is thinking about doing their thing. That's not small. Those are big moves. Those are really big moves. Really big moves. SoFi is not even thinking about. They're working on their stablecoin. Just saying. Alphabet had great numbers. Elon Musk hired a crypto guru. Elon Musk AI startup XAI is recruiting a crypto quantitative expert to enhance its frontier AI models. What does that sound like to you? Do you remember? I reported about it as soon as it happened. What does it remind you of? Not going to make you guess. You should be thinking that OpenAI hired a whole bunch of people from Wall Street to do what? To help them with their financial models. And what do you see here? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So you have a lot going on right now. A lot. So there's a lot going on that we need to be paying attention to. So what do? We do our own research. We know our entries and exits, and we absolutely invest deliberately. You have to know how to move your money, how fast you can move your money. That's the idea. How fast can you move your value around? How nimble are you? It's not that you're keeping things liquid. It's how nimble are you? Real estate, stocks, bonds, options, crypto, real estate, whatever it is. How nimble are you? You should know that. You should know that it's going to take me X amount of time to offload this. It's going to take me X amount of time to get my hands on that. You should know these things so you have a baseline from which you can operate. Just saying. I know it's time for me to say goodnight, but I wanted to say I have some bad news. So on February 21st, I was supposed to give a class on how to buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses. Materials ready to rock and roll. I was looking forward to it. I only put up 10. I was only going to have 10 seats, and somebody came in and bought all 10 seats for a private class. Wow. So I've got to pick another date to have another class. I was not expecting somebody to come along and say, I was listening to your show and I heard you say it was $395. Here's your money. I want all 10 seats. Wow. And I said, it's for a company. And I said, why are you doing this? He goes, because there are so many people out there that are looking to sell their businesses and they haven't a clue. So we would like to educate a few of them because they're business brokers. They're certified licensed business brokers. And I was like, isn't that your job? They were like, it's easier to send them to your class because we don't need them to become experts in our field. We need them to understand the basics. You're teaching them a little bit beyond the basics. That's what we need. And I was like, yo, thank you for that. You hate for what? I really do love that screen name, by the way. Hutanik was right. So they bought all 10 seats and I was like, oh, snap. Because they're like, listen, it's $395 for the class. We make thousands on every business deal. Thousands. And I was like, he was like, so if they can invest, because we're going to get the money back. So we get the money back anyway, and they learn something. Isn't it good for them to actually understand what it means to want to sell your business so that by the time they have a conversation with us, they're having a fruitful conversation? They know they have to have their tax records in line. They know that they have to be able to show their tax records for the past 3 to 5 years. They need to be able to show their net income, all these different things. They need to be able to show their costs. Some businesses deal in cash, so you got to be able to show that as well, because if you can't show it to me on paper, it didn't happen. And you have a lot of businesses that are old school that only work in cash. But if you work in cash and you're hiding a lot of money from the government, well, don't expect to sell your business for a lot. Hope you enjoyed getting all that money from before, because you're not going to get that on paper. On paper, your business looks like a failure. So I was like, oh, okay. So that first class snapped up in full. So I'm going to, like I said, I've got to pick a new date. Difference is I don't have to worry about coming up with the content and all that good stuff. We are thinking about releasing it also. I mean, we were always going to release it as a self-paced course as well. But it's one of those courses that, yeah, you could take a self-paced course, but it's also one of those things that you should actually be speaking with somebody that's done this before. So there's a thank you for all that. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Dubs. Thank you, 8 Paws. You need to save for the class anyway. If you're a big bagger, we could talk about that. So reach out to me, okay? Especially big baggers that have been around for so long. So there's that. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that's going on. So we have a lot that's going on with the platform. I'm hoping we were supposed to have the platform up and running this week. That's why Steven's been up late working. He's working right now. You know that you look at the time, it's 9:06 Eastern Standard Time. We've got a lot going on. A lot, so much. I mean, like I said, we bang out like anywhere between, I want to say we bang out anywhere between 20 and 50 articles a day. I remember when we first got started, we were barely banging out, that number per week. We've come a long way. Our community has come a long way. We haven't actually marketed the community in a minute. We're waiting to launch the site as it is. Once we launch the site, like I said, I have not been responding to comments for the most part on YouTube. All comments, all that stuff is going to happen on the site. On the site. And there's so much more coming. So much more. I wish I could show it to you, but it's not quite pretty enough for me to show you. There's certain things that you can see. If you become a member right now, there's certain things that you can see right now. We're getting there. We're getting there. A full-blown social media platform dedicated to investing. That's pretty dope. That's all because of you guys. Well, my kids and you guys. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If I didn't get to all my news, you could always go to growmybag.tv and see the articles that are there for now. In a little while, you're going to have to be a member to read all those articles, all 13,000 plus articles. What else is there? We've got videos, all that good stuff, all on the site, ready to rock. Because on YouTube, you know what else is going to happen? All those old videos, we're going to be marking those as private, and you'll only be able to see those on the website. The other cool thing about the website is that as you're doing your tokenomics or doing research on, various projects, businesses, companies, all that good stuff, whatever we write about, you'd be able to search for that and see everything that we have on it. How cool is that? This is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I really do hope you like what I'm doing. If you do, smash the likes. Tell your friends about this community. It's the only one that cares about your knowledge, not about what you do or how much you have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Everybody have a good one. Good night. See you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. for the daily. Have a good one. Bye-bye.